Okay, hello guys, it's me, Insane Gorilla, and welcome back to the channel. And as you can tell, you don't have to see the movie maker thing. I'm doing this on my phone, so hopefully you guys enjoy. So, here. This is the Transformer one, again. This time it's different. I'm not following any path of any animations or animations and that. Hell, I'm not even doing Transformers Prime. I'm just doing this for the fun of it. So, here. And if I do sound a bit weird, it's because I was trying to get into the voice for it. Cybertron. Our home. For generations, it was a peaceful world. And as long as you're strong enough to live in it. Or how would the Autobots say? Until pride and lust for power divided us. Now we fight enemies that were once our brothers. Typical Optimus Prime. Oh well. It's not like he could do anything anyway to stop our glorious uprising, to overthrow the corrupt system that had withheld us to our own democratic paths that were laid before us. In my personal opinion, it was downright enslavement. Anyway, my name is Shadow, by the way, and I linger within shadows. Ironic, but oh well. Our glorious leader Megatron finally got sick of our so-called governmentship, or should I say rulers of the upper cities. Here in Kaon, you don't have much apart from the gladiatorial arenas, which is where I first met Megatron. Participating in the gladiatorial arenas, I'm not as strong as I used to be. As a matter of fact, I never actually went into the gladiatorial arenas to try. Oh, I was lucky I didn't get scrapped by Megatron in the first swing of his mace. But I survived. If only barely holding on to my spark. Megatron, or should I call him Megatronus, as he was back then. Megatronus. Puh, all the same. Megatronus at the time was a very popular gladiator. Hell, you could say he was the most popular one. Not even any of the lower gladiators that actually went up against Megatron got as much of a following than him. Hell, even had a council member of the Cybertronian Council follow him. Soundwave. A silent person. Honestly, I'm not very sure on his motives of being so silent in Cybertronian matters. He has all these so-called different minicons going around searching for him. And what does he do? Watch gladiatorial fights. And not even participate in council meetings. Honestly, true for you, I don't see why the council meetings are so important. Ironic. How ironic that he never goes to them even though he is called a councillor. He should really be a bookworm like Orion Pax was. And I don't even know what happened to Orion Pax. I saw him once in the gladiatorial standings, but never anywhere else. I always thought he was stuck up in his library, always reading about our history. Honest truth here, I don't really give a damn what anybody else thinks about our history. Honestly, truth with you, I've always wanted to know what our history was like. But anyway, I'm getting off track. The fight between me and Megatron went just as you expect. Me, being weak and clumsy, dropped my weapons and, well, immediately had my head bashed in. Not to the point of where I died, but to a point where I was significantly wounded and left unconscious in a heap of my own fluids. I believe I leaked a bit of oil fluids, or coolant fluids, as I was being pummeled by Megatron. But I got to a medical bay, got healed up by not by Barricade, what was his name? Oh, come on now, how do I remember that stupid idiot's name? I think it was Breakdown. Yes, it must have been Breakdown, because I can remember the red and silver on him. What was that Ratchet? No, Ratchet's red and white. Anyway, regardless about that, I believe it was Barricade, so I'm leaving it as Barricade. Not Barricade, ugh. My optics and memory banks must be fuzzy again. I must have Shockwave have a look at it. I'm talking about Breakdown, sorry, not Barricade. They both begin with a B. Anyway, after Breakdown patched me up, I left. Went on my own way. Straight back into the gladiatorial arenas. Worked my way up. Having a few low-tier fights. Becoming skilled enough to, well, handle weapons such as a hammer and shield. Not really my very good forte, but hey. When you're in the gladiatorial arenas, you have a specific, well, you get a specific mastery over certain melee weapons. Mine, unfortunately, was the hammer and shield. Although that didn't really help much against Megatron the last time I faced him. Got a nice, very, very nice scar across my midsection. Then I had another scar that he also gave me on our first meeting, down my spine, and almost into my spark, killing me in the process of that last one. But hey, the crowd seemed to love our little engagements. So it was no surprise to me that when Megatron again wrecked my sorry little spark back into the Stone Age, that's also another problem, picking up your human languages. Funny, isn't it? Not. Anyway, after Megatron royally wrecked my spark again, he raised his hand up in triumph. As I slowly staggered to my feet, I shouted to Megatronus, our fight is not over yet. Shaking, but still standing. I pick up my hammer and reignite my shield again. Megatronus turned to me and said, "Very well then, warrior. If you wish to continue our little sparring match, I will not stop you. But I will end this by crippling your legs." So we proceeded to fight. Mace meets shield, hammer meets hand, head meets kneecap. My face, by the way, meets Megatron's knees. Twice. Painful as all hell. But I did get an upper hand on Megatron. I broke my arm away and swung up with my hammer, cracking his face against the blunt side, and a sharper edge on the other side as well. But this was a gladiatorial fight. All rules go out the window in a fight, so yes, cracked Megatron once in the face. He cracked me in the ribs, or where a human rib cage would be. I've crushed enough of you insects to find out. Please ignore that. Anyway, let's see. Where was I? Ah, yes. Finding out that Megatron's weakness, although strenuous, I eventually did get Megatron onto his knees. But he then rose up like a towering mountain once I thought I defeated him. And his mace went straight into my kidneys. I coughed out a little bit of, well, energon after that. Because then proceeding to tear my spark new one. The rage of Megatron was exquisite and delightful. For finally fulfilling my own purpose of finally making Megatron lose his mechanical shit. For now, I lived in squalor afterwards. Chucked out of the gladiatorial arenas due to Megatron's influence, no doubt. Chucked out into the streets, told never to return to the gladiatorial arenas again. Unfortunately, for them, they left my hammer next to me. So I picked it up, and my shield activated again. So I said, fine. So I walked. Put my hammer on my back, which then compacted itself into my body. Which is rather odd to have a hammer do that to you, but oh well. Shield goes back, and I move on. Some people recognize me and see that I'm disgraced. But they still followed. One of them of which was another con called... oh, what was his name? Wrecker. Grindor, I think. Grindor or Blackout. One of the same. Both of them are brothers, so... the flyers always stick together. They saw me and noted my skills. They wished to train under me to go into the gladiatorial arenas themselves. I refused at first, but they just followed me and kept on pestering until I gave them what they wanted. Which I did, a royal beatdown. But something impressed me. For some odd reason, then I chose to train them. Almost like I was impressed by their skills. They're pretty shoddy at melee, but they're good at long range. So I trained them both in long range attacks, which I then sent him into the arena. The arenas were broadcast daily across not across Icon, but across K-On! K-On! Became quite popular for its gladiatorial arenas. Hell, even Jazz, an investigator, became very interested in the gladiatorial arenas themselves, which I found most distressing. An investigator here in K-On! I'm surprised he didn't find himself scrapped as soon as he walked through K-On!'s gates. Oh well, swings and roundabouts. Time to go and smell the flowers, I guess. Anyway, Grindor and Blackout. Be aware, I do know that they're both the same guy, okay? Grindor and Blackout. They both left into the gladiatorial arenas. I watched them over the comms, over the TV screens, over everything. I watched them as they made their way up the ranks, only to meet Megatron and, surprise, surprise, be soundly defeated. After telling him that they saw his humiliating defeat at the hands of a low-class gladiatorial arena champion. They call me champion. I ain't no champion. Megatron's the true champion. And to tell him that to his face, I'm surprised they didn't wind themselves up in the ground eating Cybertronian worms for that. I'm surprised Megatron didn't rip their sparks out where they stood. But he laughed and said out loud, and that was the best fight I have ever had in a very long time. I wonder what happened to that gladiatorial warrior. I would love to face him again. And if he's trained two fine gladiatorial warriors like yourselves, regardless of you being range hitters, I would be more than honoured to face him once again. The crowd booed Megatron for saying such a word. Of having fun facing a lowly gladiatorial warrior, a champion like himself should never be praising such warriors. But here he was, praising me. I laughed out loud in front of all the people that were watching the screen. As I just simply say, if that was true, then why did you allow me to get kicked out of the arenas? Everybody then looked at me, realizing that I was the warrior Megatronus was speaking of. Everybody crowded around me. The popularity was not what I'm used to. Although I did think it picked up by someone. A very strange individual, a bit chittery and chattery. He said he had a job for me, and I would fit perfectly for the bill. He said his commander always has keen eyes on people, and he would love to meet me. I said, "Who was your boss?" And he said, "Starscream, Starscream, Starscream." That word echoed through my optics and hell, through my memory banks for hours. This Cybertronian clicked his fingers in front of me several times and waved. As I finally came round, said, "You work for Commander Starscream, the commander of the space station," which those words actually shocked this Cybertronian. He even said, "Nobody knows that Commander Starscream was in charge of a space station. How did you know?" Or at least that's what I think he said. I just simply replied saying, "I know because I've seen him constantly fly up to that damnable station. He's a pathetic officer. He's even more pathetic of a leader. What does he do? Rule over Seeker City? I was surprised nobody's dropped a nuclear bomb on that place, just to get rid of them all. All the Seekers are always pompous pricks, always thinking themselves superior, leaving us ground pounders to do the fighting on the ground, while they sit up there in their fancy little flying fortresses, safely ignorant to the horrors of combat on the ground." Which made everybody sort of laugh, which I gotta admit made me chuckle as well, because everybody knows it's true. Starscream is a coward of most, but somehow that ignorant little snake manages to word his way out of every single little beatdown he's about to get. But I oblige and said, "Fine, I'll go up to your pathetic little station to see what Starscream would love to say. Although I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't like the attitude that I give him. Although I don't really give two Cybertronian shits of what he gives, or what if he cares. I am my own individual, and I will do what I please. But still, please, take me to him. I'll give him a beatdown for you." So the Cybertronian did take me to Starscream, and I did see him. The words I got out of Starscream was, "Shadow, welcome to my station. You'll be the perfect guard here." Guard. Perfect. He brought me all the way here to guard his pathetic little station. I scoffed at that remark. I said, "Pathetic Starscream. Megatronus could have me guarding something better than this place. You're safe up here. What the hell do you need a guard for?" "Oh, let me guess, to guard your little personal quarters." Get lost. Take me back down to the surface. I've had enough of this place already. Starscream is, well, as you can most probably gather, less than happy with that remark. But luckily, with my skills in the gladiatorial arenas, and going up against someone far more powerful than Starscream, tries to attack me, and fails miserably. I didn't even need to pull out a hammer. All I did was activate my shield and smack Starscream's bitch ass into the next wall. Then jump on him and use my fist to crack open his faceplate, or his chest plate. Then immediately pile drive him into the ground in front of all of his officers. Skyquake and Skywarp even turned up and tried to get involved, because they respect Starscream. They didn't respect me after the ass-kicking I gave them. They were piles of scrap, barely clinging to the spark within them. Starscream fled like a coward, deep within his facility. I just simply told them to get me off the station, which they obliged. 10 whole years then pass. I was finally allowed back into the damn gladiatorial arenas. And who was my first opponent? Blackout and Grindor. They both risen highly, but obviously they were all underestimating me. Grindor immediately backed down. But Blackout, he tried his hand and immediately got crushed underneath my boot. Because I knew their strengths were ranges, so I transformed into my vehicle mode and drove at high speed as fast as I could towards Blackout, taking a few dings here and there from his long-range attacks. Hell, he even threw his repeller blade at me. That sure as hell got my attention. So I got up close to Grindor, used him for a shield as Blackout scarred him instead with that attack of his. Threw Grindor to the ground and knocked him out. Then proceeded to go to Blackout. Oh, the fun I had with him, tearing him a new one. It took me less than 5 seconds to scrap him for a while. After that, I was victorious. Got tons of boos because I got kicked out. But there was 2 of them that were not booing at all. As I looked closer towards them, I saw Soundwave and Barricade, which I thought was very weird. Barricade never usually comes to Kaon. He always hides himself, always does his police officer duties. He usually works with RC up in Iacon. But then I noticed something. There was a third individual that was not booing me either, but smiling like a madman, as he then jumps down, creating a small crater as he lands, as he just proclaims, "I am Megatronus. I will be your next opponent." Which surprises everyone, including myself. I didn't realize Megatronus was in the stands this time. The cheers for Megatronus echoed through the arena. Megatronus then shouted, saying, "Silence." Everybody then shuts up immediately, as he then looks at me, proclaiming himself to be the greatest warrior ever, but for someone such as me to take his ego down a few pegs, he is a true warrior. A warrior he'll be more than glad to call a friend. A friend. Never thought I'd hear that from the great gladiatorial master himself. Shit. Hang on. Sorry, guys. Accidentally dropped my phone onto my chest there. As Megatronus then proceeds to tell me, "I have been making moves against in the council, trying to get them to initiate me as a prime. And I wish you to prove that I am strong enough to be a prime." Prime. Those words still echo through my mind, even now, considering what we've done. but I was all too happy to help him. To help him show that he is more than worthy to become the next Prime. But during our fight, he cracks me good in the face, and I crack him good in the stomach. Us two trading blows for blow. It was exquisite. The pain, the thrill, the adrenaline pumping through my spark and my veins. The adrenaline was pumping. My mind was racing. The thrill of fighting someone as strong as Megatronus finally made my spark realize I was born to fight. I was born to prove that I, Shadow of the Decepticon army, as I drew my weapon and Megatron drew his for a final fight with each other. Our weapons clash as we both send each other flying across the arena. The crowd silent through the entire fight. Us two, we were there. We were fighting tooth and nail to prove each other right. I fought Megatron on equal terms and equal footing. We both were laughing and smiling, which I think may have actually put a lot of people off the gladiatorial games, but they refused to make them leave. They were stunned. They were watching. I could hear no murmurs, no whispers, no cheers, no boos, just silence. As I get up from my little indent in the wall, Megatronus gets up from his. He walks into the gladiatorial arena again, in the center, as I do the same. Both of us tired, exhausted, but just too damn aggressive for our own good to back down. It would only end in one way: death. Death for each of us, or for one. Megatronus and I have gritted our teeth, but we both never swung our last attacks. I think our adrenaline on both sides gave out as we both fall to our knees, as we both laugh and smile. Megatronus just gets up and supports me getting up too. As we both smile, as we both shake hands and call it a draw, you could hear a gear drop as we both fall over backwards, landing on our backs. I'm surprised we even stood up for that long, let alone give each other a handshake. The crowd, still silent for another couple of seconds, went wild. There was no boos on my part, but only cheers. Some even shouting that was the greatest fight they have ever seen. Two gladiators laughing at each other while they're giving each other a royal beatdown. Megatronus and Shadow, the two greatest warriors to ever walk Cybertron's soil, or metal soil. Megatronus was then taken away to a medical capsule the same as me. My wounds were a lot more than Megatronus's. My shield arm was broken. My hammer shattered. I was only using my bare fists to hold off Megatron. As eventually I come out of my comatose state. My arm has been fully repaired, so is my hammer and shield. But then I see Megatronus walk to me as everybody stands aside, parting like a great sea, like the great sea of rust, which I hope I'd never have to see. Megatronus then puts out his arm with his hand wide open in a sort of way saying, "Come, friend." I grab hold and he lifts me up to my own feet again. Megatronus laughs at me, saying, "You are the best warrior I've ever seen in a fight. I'll be honored to call you brother in my Decepticon army. You'll be known as Shadow, the Unbreakable. Shadow, the Unbreakable." I'm surprised my memory banks even remember that. But the name Shadow stuck with me for eons. I didn't realize it at first, but Megatron had been building a secret army, and everybody called him Lord Megatronus. That's until he called himself Lord Megatron. He then petitioned the council to name him a prime. I was there when they denied it. The fools. But then they said that Orion Pax would become Optimus Prime. The disdain and disgust on all of our faces, apart from those pitiful Autobugs. Megatronus stormed out, along with his loyal Decepticon followers, including myself. I was not about to let a brother be disrespected in such a way. So we left. We went back to Kaon. Megatron pronounced himself as Megatron. We all bowed to him, saying, "All hail, Lord Megatron." I called him by his original name, Megatronus, saying, "Megatronus, I understand you're angry. I am equally pissed. But what is our next move? We can't simply raise an army here without anybody in Iacon noticing." That's when Megatronus looked at me with red eyes. The fear quickly swelled up inside me, as he just simply says, in a calm voice, "Army, we are both brothers in this army already." As soon as he said we were both already in the army, that's when I realized Megatron was already thinking 5 steps ahead of us. I simply say, "All hail, Megatron," with him smiling, saying, "Thank you, Shadow. You are my third in command, one of my most trusted. I am honored to know you as a brother, as my third." As I simply ask him, "Who is your second?" As he points, saying, "Soundwave is my second. Shockwave is my fourth. But now, all we need to do now is get Starscream in our ranks. I spit with disgust on the ground. Megatron, not really taking kindly to that, grabs me and tells me, "You will be getting Starscream. I want his fleet in the Decepticon army. Do whatever it is necessary to bring him into the fold." I bow, saying, "Yes, Lord Megatron. I have an equal score to settle with that weakling. He wanted me to be one of his pathetic guards of his station." Megatron, smiling like a madman, says, "Trypticon Station. That's where the coward will be." "Fine. Me, you, Soundwave, and a legion of Decepticons. We'll head up to Trypticon Station and take it." "Yes, Lord Megatron. I assume you've got spies up there." "Indeed," he replies, as he also leans closer to me, saying, "You will be leading the assault on Iacon if this goes well. You are my actual second in command, then Soundwave. But although Soundwave is my second on paper, well, in the public eye, he is actually beneath you. He is the third in command, my brother." Megatronus then proceeds to lean back as those words still echo in my mind. I then say, "Lord Megatron, I will take that station for you with my own hands, on my own." I proceed to leave. Shadow, the Unbroken, is about to be Shadow the Breaker. Because when I reach Trypticon Station, Starscream is there waiting for me, as he decrees, "No Cybertronian shall walk upon my station." I proceed to laugh at him, saying, "I ain't here to walk on your station. I'm here to break you. Someone wishes to speak with you, but he said I can have my fun with you first." Starscream, angered at that sly comment, charges at me again as he decrees, "I will break you just like I broke others, like Skywarp and Thundercracker." Both of those cons still badly injured from Starscream, as they say Starscream is a formidable fighter now. I laugh at that comment silently, too focused on the fight at hand that's coming my way. I see Starscream's movements. They are slow and sloppy. There's no way he beats Skywarp and Thundercracker. Skyquake could have done a better job at fighting me than Starscream. I pummel Starscream so much, I create a little indent in the floor of me constantly slamming him. Then I break his sparkle spine, then drag him to Megatron. Obviously giving him some first aid, of course, healing him up, then dragging him to Megatron, making him kneel in front of the Lord and Master of Cybertron. Starscream begs Megatron not to do anything to his staff on Trypticon Station. Megatron just simply laughs and takes it. Anybody who puts up a fight against Megatron was immediately killed. not really caring much for them. They killed someone else, someone who was trying to kill Megatron. I played it off as an Autobot trick, made it look like the Autobots were responsible for it. My finest hour. Megatron tortured the rest of Starscream's people, apart from Skyquake, Skywarp, Thundercracker, and a few others. Starscream then became part of the Decepticon army, put directly underneath Soundwave, and Starscream was immediately placed underneath Soundwave and Shockwave. The fights between Shockwave and Starscream, both rivaling for Megatron's attention, like feeding rodents. Obviously, Megatron was not daunted by their little power gains or power grabs. As long as they both served him, he wouldn't care. But if something happened to me or Soundwave, oh, the sparks will fly. Because he even told me, if anything happens to you or Soundwave, I think I'll lose a piece of myself. The Wars of Cybertron. We played it off as nothing more than a little distraction. We didn't want the Autobots to think we were truly at war with each other. We mingled with each other. Megatron still got some chosen allies. A few deserters here and there. A few Autobots who saw Megatron as a rightful prime, who changed their allegiances to Decepticons. A few here and there noticed whispers, rumors, bombings, rumors of bombings, everything. Then Sentinel Prime, one of our master's finest works. But that was later on in the war. But there was another. Zeta Prime. A coward. More of a coward than Starscream. The face of fear on him as he fled from one of our bombings. Funny enough, Starscream was there, and he was the one getting shot at. By a comedian, of all things. A comedian was shooting at Starscream because he didn't laugh at one of his poorly written jokes. I had fun ripping that one apart. Yes, I was there. The smoke was covering everything. I ripped that poor comedian apart, sparking from his waist, then hung him to dry, impaling his spark on a sharp, jagged piece of metal that was protruding out of the wall from the bombing. That I did. I slammed him so hard the spike came through and almost pierced my skull. But I quickly proceeded to leave. The fire brigade and police were nearby. Barricade was there too, along with RC. She chose to be an Autobug. I was surprised nobody crushed her when they had the chance. But that's neither here or there. The war for Cybertron was about to begin, and it would be glorious. But anyway, guys, I hope you like, comment, and subscribe. See you all in the next one. Peace.